Hello, everyone. This is my only podcast of the week. First, we're going to start off with Jimmy Butler. So, before I get too heated about this, let's go over what's happened. The Rockets offered 4 first-round picks for Jimmy Butler. The Timberwolves owner and Tom Thibodeau pretty much said no. And now it's looking like the Heat and the Sixers are other 2 options. Meanwhile, the Rockets still seem interested, but aren't really willing, understandably, to go much higher. What is wrong with the Timberwolves? Glenn Taylor, let's start with you. If my GM came to me and said someone offered me 4 first-round picks for almost any player, there are maybe 5 players that I would say no to that for, and Jimmy's not one of them, I would say, where is the champagne? And if my GM said no, I would be like, there's the door, nice knowing you. Do you know how valuable 4 first-round picks is? The last time 4 first-round picks were traded was when the Nets traded for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett from the Celtics, Danny Ainge. That is known as one of the worst trades in NBA history. Paul Pierce and Garnett weren't much older than Jimmy is now, and the Nets were looked at forming a super team that was going to contend with the Miami Heat. The Rockets are thought of as contending with the Warriors. They are 1-5. Jimmy would help that. They would be my pick to win the championship this year, even though the Warriors are insane. And although I'm not saying that the Rockets will be as bad as the Nets, who knows in 7 years? Because of the NBA Stipien rule, who, by the way, is, I don't know how you could be so bad as a owner and GM. He traded once 5 consecutive first-round picks before the trade was then vetoed by the NBA because of how ridiculous it was. I mean, he was the owner of the Cavs, and the worst. And so you can't trade back-to-back first-round picks. So the picks would be spread out, meaning there would be 1 this year, 1 in 3 years, and so on until 7 years, because you can only see 7 years in the future. Well, you can only trade picks 7 years in the future. Now, Glenn Taylor, what is wrong with you mentally? What is wrong with you? What are you thinking straight? Is there something going on? Does Tom Thibodeau have you in some sort of puppet master strings? Like, I don't understand. It makes sense for Tom Thibodeau. He's not going to win without Jimmy, who's insane. He outplayed LeBron when they played the Lakers the other night. But for Glenn Taylor, 4 first-round picks, if someone offers me 4 first-round picks on the phone, I'm saying, hold on 1 second. They just offered me 4 first-round picks? Okay. I think that could work. And then you hang up immediately after you've accepted the deal before they can change their mind. 4 first-round picks. You're mortgaging your future with 4 first-round picks. 4 first-round picks. 4 first-round picks. 4. What? I would trade LeBron for 4 first-round picks given his age. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how that wasn't accepted within a second. The Wolves aren't doing anything with Jimmy, even though they're a good team with Jimmy because of how good Jimmy is and how hard he plays. But he's going to sit out whenever he's not feeling that well, and because now there's reports that he's sitting out. But it was cleared up by him texting Rachel Nichols. Where he's sitting whenever he feels like not 100% because he's not willing to compromise his body, which is smart. But that means he's probably going to miss 10, 15 games if he stays with the Wolves the entire season, which he probably won't because they'll either lower their asking price because they know Jimmy will leave, or they'll or the Sixers or Heat will bump up their asking price. But if I'm the Rockets and I offered you 4 first-round picks, I don't care about the other players, even though they're giving them solid players. Brandon Knight, good player, and the other one I think was Marquise Chris, or PJ Tucker. They don't want to trade PJ Tucker, or Eric Gordon. That I do that for Jimmy Butler because then you get Melo off the bench scoring. And then Jimmy Butler with Harden and Chris Paul in your starting lineup. That's insane. Anyway, moving on from that ridiculous situation, let's talk about Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson broke the NBA record with 14 three-pointers made in just 26 minutes and around 40 seconds. That is insane. He had 3 dribbles on his made three-pointers. 3. And I think it was 9 dribbles in the half-court set. Klay, if you haven't noticed already, Klay can shoot. Him and CJ McCollum probably have 2 of the best forms in the NBA. And Klay Thompson is in my opinion, the fifth best three-point shooter of all time. I had Ray Allen over Curry until this last finals. I have Curry 1, Ray Allen 2, and Miller and Bird I go back and forth on for 3 and 4. So those are just 3 and 4. And then 5, Klay Thompson, 6, Kyle Korver. But 5, he's the 5th, at least the 5th greatest shooter of all time. He's insane. He's capable of getting hotter than almost any player ever. It's just crazy, and he's in this perfect system for him. If I'm the Warriors, I don't want to let him go. I'd let KD over Klay because you saw what happened without KD, 73 wins, and without Draymond's suspension, they probably win the finals that year. I think KD's leaving, and I think Klay will stay, but that's a different topic. This is just to say that Klay is amazing. He can shoot. We haven't seen much him do creating his own shot. He can a little bit just because of how scared people are of him shooting. They'll pump fake, they'll bite, of course, and then he'll do a little sidestep dribble, we saw a lot of that. But can't drive that well, doesn't have much athleticism, can dunk, and can't really finish around the rim, but he can defend. And he's long, and he's a great shooter. Top 5 all time. That is a very valuable player. Now let's talk about the Lakers. So the Lakers are struggling right now. By the way, we're about an hour and a half before kickoff. Not kickoff. Before tip-off. With them playing the Mavericks tonight. And if they want to not be terrible, the offense looks great, like absolutely amazing, and it can only get better. Everything that's happening now is the floor, or close to the floor. The Lakers aren't hitting 3-point shots that much. LeBron is shooting like close to 20% from 3. That is not going to continue. He's going to get better. Kuzma's not shooting as well. They haven't had Ingram. They lost Ingram to a suspension. They haven't really figured out the lineups entirely. The offense is already the second best in the league and will get better. That's scary. But the defense is putrid. Last year we were top 10 team in defense, and I think we were number 2 in pace. Now, this year we're I don't know the exact top 5 in pace and bottom 5 in defense. Now, I don't know if Julius Randle should win defensive player of the year, or if it's just not meshing, or if they're not trying as hard on defense. But one thing I do know is let's not blame Luke Walton. Luke Walton had the Lakers improving every year with minimal talent, especially last year with young talent. And people forget that after January, the Lakers are the second best record in the NBA. It felt that was only for January until the All-Star break, but it was still top 5 for the rest of the year. Like, they were a pretty good team. And that was with Julius Randle and Ingram running the show, and Lonzo when he was healthy, Ingram when he was healthy, and Kuzma and Josh Hart, and that they were playing great, and great defense too. The problem with the Lakers defensively this year has been the defensive rebounding. They're allowing way too many offensive rebounds, and the help defense. They're not playing good team defense. They're playing good on-ball defense for each single player, except Kyle Kuzma is shown to be a liability at sometimes. But just because he's being asked to play center and he's not really used to that. That's why I wanted to re-sign Randall, but I'm not going to really get into that right now. But I think it will be fixed. They just need time. No one thought this team would be good right away. And LeBron always takes time to figure out his teams. And this is the most inexperienced team he's had. Like, let's remember that. Like, these players are hungry and they want to learn. Like, Rondo has said that he's never seen a whole team watch film together. That happened with this young team. They're improving, and they're going to figure this out, and they're going to mesh. It's just going to take some time. Let's not panic or call the fire Luke Walton, who I think is a hell of a coach. Next, we're going to talk about Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley. They were both fired a couple days ago, and I understand the moves. I disagree with firing Hugh Jackson. I've been calling for Todd Haley to be fired for a couple weeks now. His play calling for Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson has been terrible. Absolutely terrible. He's not taking Hugh Jackson's advice, who is a great offensive coordinator when he was with the Bengals. They had a top 10 offense all the time with him. Then he left, and he's an offensive mind, yet the offensive coordinator is not taking his advice when he's the head coach. Now, isn't that cause to fire your offensive coordinator because the offensive coordinator is not listening to his authority? Or are they looking at it as if the head coach doesn't command enough respect to deal with the offensive coordinator? You can look at it either way, and you can also look at it the fact that Hugh Jackson has only won 3 games. We can also look at the fact that they've had injuries to QBs, to so many linebackers, Jamie Collins last year, safeties, a defensive end, Myles Garrett, Joe Thomas, and the offensive line, and so many others. It hasn't been all his fault. Sure, 3 wins is unacceptable, but it is the Browns, and they were improving this year, and I think they would have improved even more under Hugh Jackson had he been listened to when it comes to the offense. Next, NFL trade deadline. So I'm going to go over what happened, and then I'll give my take. Dante Fowler was traded to the Rams for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. Golden Tate was traded to the Eagles for a 3rd round pick. The Broncos traded Demaryius Thompson to the Houston Texans for a 4th round pick and swapping 7th. The Green Bay Packers traded Clinton-Dix to the Redskins for a 4th round pick. And the Packers traded Ty Montgomery to the Ravens for a 7th round pick. So, first, good move by the Redskins. The Cowboys got Cooper, Eagles got Tate. You boost your secondary. You're in the lead of the division. You want to keep it that way. It's a good move. He's a young player who struggled a little bit. I think next to a better defense, he won't have to do as much. Maybe better defensive coaching, and I think he'll improve. Next, we have Golden Tate. I don't really like this move as much because the Eagles' problem was running, not passing. So it frees up Aguilar, and this offense is now very extremely potent passing, but they need more help on left and right tackle because Lane Johnson will miss several weeks. Peters is playing injured, and then also running back. They don't really have a premier running back since Ajayi went out for the season. Demaryius Thomas, this was a great move for the Texans. You just lost Will Fuller for the season. Now Kiki Kuti is dealing with injuries. And you need someone next to DeAndre Hopkins to help him, and then also open up the running game and also help your amazing quarterback. Next, we have Dante Fowler. Could the Rams get any better? They filled maybe their only weakness. They had a bottom 5 edge pass rush rate, or edge pressure rate, and they were I think the best in the league by far interior pass rush rate, pressure rate, but this was their weakness from the edge. They do have still a hole at linebacker, but they'll use Dante Fowler as an outside linebacker, which will cover up for that. And this was just a great move. They will filled one of their weaknesses, and now they can move on to probably a Super Bowl. Only team that can get in the way of getting to the Super Bowl is the Saints. Then we'll find out this week. Well, we won't really find out because it will be a different game later on, but we'll get a sense. And Ty Montgomery. This brings me to my next point. So first about the trade, good move for the Ravens. They needed some pass catching out of the backfield, and Ty Montgomery brings that. And the Packers, he was not happy there, and the players in the locker room did not like him after that fumble. Now to my point about the fumble. Now everyone always wants to blame the player, but that wasn't really a bad decision. He was a little careless, but taking it out in that situation is not that bad. The likelihood of him fumbling is not that high. And I think the real thing that we should be taking away from this is good job Rams for forcing the fumble. Like, we're not crediting the team that forced the fumble at all. We're just getting mad at the player who fumbled. I mean, that happens to almost every player. Can we credit the special teams a little bit? Next, moving on to my Week 9 predictions. So first we have Thursday Night Football. Raiders at 49ers. This is a historical game, but as last week pointed out, not with the 49ers Cardinals, not really that great of a game to watch, but they chose their prime time, maybe because the expectations, the two teams were supposed to be better than they were. 49ers got hurt by injuries. Raiders traded away a pass rush. 49ers at home, Thursday night teams on the road hardly ever win, so I'm going to pick the 49ers. They're also... that's pretty much the whole reason. The Raiders are kind of a better team, but the 49ers are at home and they probably will play harder. They also have a better defense and more of a pass rush. And the Raiders just seem lost. The Bears at Bills, I'm going to pick the Bears to win on the road. They are better in every way than the Bills. Yep. Buccaneers at Panthers, I'm going to pick the Panthers. Cam is balling out. The Panthers are balling out. They're playing better than anyone gave them credit for. And the Buccaneers continue to have quarterback turmoil. Fitzpatrick looks better, but he's inconsistent, so you never know. Chiefs at Browns. Get ready to unsubscribe from my channel because I have to. It's just right there. It's right there. I have to. I didn't want to because it's probably not going to happen, but I have to. I can't go picking all favorites or everyone who's going to, I think is going to win. You got to have some fun sometimes. So I'm picking the Browns to win. John Dorsey gets his win against his former team. The first time they're playing against each other. Defense versus offense. Way better offense versus pretty good defense. But I'm picking the Browns to win. Nick Chubb has over 100 yards against the terrible Chiefs rushing defense. They control the pace. They defend. It's a high 20s to no. high 20s to mid 20s. They bounce back after firing 2 coaches, and they win this game. I'm calling it right now. Let's do it. Okay. Jets at Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to win this. It's a divisional game. It's going to be hard fought, but it's in Miami, so I'm going to pick the Dolphins. Also, I think the Dolphins are a better team. They've lost a bunch recently. I think they'll get back on track here against a weaker opponent. Steelers at Ravens. This is a tough game. If it was in Pittsburgh, I would say maybe the Steelers, but the Ravens' defense is much better than the Steelers. They still don't have Bell. Roethlisberger historically has always struggled in Baltimore. That Ravens defense is playing really well. I'm going to take the Ravens here. Lions at Vikings. I'm going to pick the Vikings because it's in Minnesota, and those purple people eaters always fight hard. And then, but the Vikings are getting back on track. They're playing well. Defense looks a little better. Lions offense, I'm interested to see after Tate. They do still have 2 solid wide receivers, and they want to give Kerryon Johnson the ball. I just think the Vikings are a better team at this moment. The Falcons at Redskins, I'm going to pick the Falcons. The Redskins are good. They're good. They surprised me this year. I had very low hopes for them, but the defense is playing well. Alex Smith isn't losing the game for him. AP, baby. I know I said baby twice, but AP. Okay, so, the Falcons, more high-powered offense. I'm calling the upset right here. I think Julio gets in the end zone for this game, and I think it's going to be a good game, though. Good game. Texans at Broncos. Texans go in there. Deshaun and Hopkins have a big day. They struggle with the passing attack. Cortland Sutton does have a good day, but the Texans just overpower them with J.J. Watt and Clowney and Merciless and Zach Cunningham, and they just beat the Broncos. All right, Chargers at Seahawks. This is a really good game, but the Seahawks are at home, and it's gonna be really tough for the Chargers to go into there and win. It's one of the toughest NFL home advantages, but the defense is playing great for Seattle, but the Chargers are just a more complete team. The defense is not much worse than Seattle, even without Bosa, but the offense is far better. So I'm going to pick the Chargers in this one to come in and win on the road. The Rams at Saints. Is this a game, man? Is this a game? I'm a little bit stumped on this one. Any pick, I'd understand. I'm going to have to pick the Rams in this one just because they're rolling. They just got off a big week. I don't think... I think the Rams win. The Saints defense has looked tough. I know the Saints will try to run and control the clock, but so will the Rams against a poor rush defense. And they just have so many weapons. Cooper Kupp hopefully will come back. And the Saints, I just don't think they have enough firepower to go against a good Rams defense. They'll be great once they get Talib back. They don't have enough to go up against that defense when their defense will give up a lot of points to an extremely explosive Rams offense. Packers at Patriots. I don't expect this to be as close as people are making out to be. Aaron Rodgers versus Brady. I know it's a huge storyline, but it's really not who this is against. It's really the Packers, not that great of a team, versus a Super Bowl contender in the Patriots. The Patriots, I know they're struggling without Michelle, but Michelle could come back. I don't think so. I think it'll be another week, but it's going to be an interesting game just because it's always interesting with this type of storyline. But the Patriots are just a way more complete and balanced team. The defense is coming together. This is around the time the Patriots just dominate everyone and start playing really good ball. Titans at Cowboys. This is also a really good game. We've got a couple of really good games this week. Titans at Cowboys. It's in Dallas. I'm interested to see how the two things: how Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper and Zeke bounce back against a really good Titans defense. Both teams are coming off byes, so there's no advantage there. Also, I'm interested to see how Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis bounce back after having poor seasons, contrary to expectations, against a very good Dallas defense who surprised a lot of people. I think the Titans are a better team than the Cowboys. The Cowboys are at home, but I'm going to pick the better team in this situation. I think even though the Cowboys have a really good, pretty good defense, I think the Titans is better, and then I think the Titans' offense has more weapons, and I have more confidence in it. I had high hopes for it. I'm not ready to abandon them completely, even though I think Zeke will have a big day, but it's going to take more than a bye week to incorporate Amari Cooper into the offense. It's going to take more than a week. So even after this game, if he does well or does poorly, let's not overreact, okay? Let's give it some time. These things aren't like that. All right, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and like the video, or don't. I'm not a beggar. Have a good day.